Hey everybody, I'm Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today, finally, I'm back to finish the Selkie. On the mic is my husband, John.
Hey guys.
He's going to be talking to me during this video because this has been such a challenge for me. He's going to be here as my studio support, my emotional support human to continue on in this painting. This has been really interesting because I've talked over the time that I've been on YouTube about the fact that every once in a while I'll have a painting that just goes pear-shaped on me. This doesn't matter. It just goes sideways and I fall flat on my face and it's really a struggle. And then everything after that is much better. And this has definitely been that painting. On top of that, I had something that I refer to as a stall.
Mm.
So I'm not creatively blocked. I'm perfectly capable of painting everything on the planet but this painting right now. It's just, in fact, I would just paint anything but this painting right now. And had some inflammation, had some stress, had to take more videos than we've ever had to take off the schedule
Mm-hmm.
since our time being on YouTube. So it's been emotionally challenging, physically challenging, just everything you can imagine. And yet I'm still stalled. So now there's a thing that happens when you hit a stall. And it's one of two things. Either you find a way back into the painting and you finish the project, or that painting is just over and
Mm.
you never get back because there's this window that you have for some projects to keep the momentum going and to finish. And I used to have this in quilting. I would go buy a bunch of fabrics for a project I was going to make, but if they sat in my stash closet too long, that quilt was never going to get made.
Right.
It's just a bunch of fussy cut squares of really cool fabric. Because I would get on to other projects and that energy and that momentum would move too far forward for me to go back. So John and I recognized that we were getting close to that stage with this, but the wonderful blessing is you guys. Because we have you and we answer in some way to you guys, we have to finish this. There's like no other choice. We can't leave people halfway through a lesson. That would be so terrible. It's just
Yeah.
not that you don't at 2 in the morning go, they're good, they're adults, they can hang, right? They can finish how to figure it out.
Yeah.
And some of you guys have very bravely just continued on and finished the painting. And I know many of you are probably sitting at home a little frustrated, but also understanding, waiting for me to finish the sucker up and wondering if you're just stuck halfway in a painting. Like, what is this new experience I'm having? So for every single person that logs on and sees this and continues and finishes this painting and posts it, I want to tell you from the bottom of my heart, you're the fuel that keeps me going.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, because there would be no reason for you to come back and finish this. There would be no reason for you to stay subscribed. So if you have and you finish, you're our hero. You know, our art hero that we've
Art
got.
heroes.
So here I am on this painting that I really am trying to avoid. And what I'm going to do, since I'm so shook, is I'm going to start on an area of the painting for which I have no emotional charge. That's going to be my only way back in. So I have very little feelings about the water, some feeling about the seal, but much less feeling about the seal. So I'm going to start kind of in this space and see if I can't get myself back into the space where I felt really overwhelmed. And I have to tell you, this isn't a skill thing or an ability thing. It's like an art process thing. Sometimes you run into something that your brain just shuts down on, and then you're like, oh, yay, I'm completely stuck. Thanks. So we've got her. All the information is in the description below. Again, I can't tell you how much I love you guys for just hanging in and trying to be encouraging and not writing a bunch of terrible stuff in the big art quest. Every time I go in there, and I'm like afraid to post now, but I go in there and you guys are so positive, and I just think this is the best. These are the best people on planet Earth. You can't imagine the esteem I hold you in. So that being said, let's talk about these ever drying on the palette colors. I have Indian yellow. I'm put out some burnt sienna, burnt umber, yellow ochre, titanium white, zinc white, Mars black, phthalo blue, phthalo green, and ultramarine blue. So I have those out. It's a super dry day, so I'm misting these as I go. And also, I was avoiding just getting into starting this long enough that now these are starting to dry. So it's been a whole journey. And I'm going to just take in a deep breath. I'm going to find a spot here, and I'm going to try to paint some of what I'm seeing. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to grab a comforting brush. This is a very comforting brush to me. This is a number 2 Cambridge. It's a nice little bristle and filament brush, and I'm going to try to paint a little of this light. So I'm going to take just a smidge of my Indian yellow into this brush. And then, of course, John, what did I not put out? I didn't put out a towel.
Oh no, let me see if I can find one.
Yeah, you find one. I'm not even going to look for it because I think we'll pause the video and then never start again. And then I'm going to have to make a video about, I'm sorry that I didn't finish a lesson. So I'm going to, woohoo! I'm going to come right here and I'm going to start just applying this little glittering spot of light. I'm using the zinc because it's not going to build up on me so fast that I can't keep up with it. And I'm going to just very carefully tap out these little spots of light with the zinc. And there's this small amount of Indian yellow in here, which will give it that warm cast that you might have during daylight. I cannot express to you as I narrate this how completely nervous I am about this painting. Like, there's like these moments where I'm dreaming about it at night, and then I sit up and I just think, man, it's gonna go. It's gonna be a whole thing. So, but I'm in it. I'm adding new dabs of paint, and I've really struggled to even get to that space. So that's a win. You got to take the little wins where you can get it. John's been super supportive about this, but you know, he has his own like work stuff and everything. Like, it's hard to sometimes keep going when everything is just coming at you at 100 miles an hour.
It's true.
You know, and we're just like the two people here, and so everything that's got to get done is always us, and that includes the kids,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. And so sometimes we're just like, it just, wow. It's, I don't know if you've ever had the feeling of like treading water. John was on the polo team, so it's not as upsetting of a feeling for him.
We yeah. We were required to tread water
Regularly.
in all sorts of uncomfortable, unpredictable ways.
Right. But
You know,
for me, growing up in California, treading water is either a super happy optional event or not a happy optional event.
I have to say it. You learn a surprising a lot about. You learn a surprisingly a lot about yourself swimming with a horse.
I've swum with a horse. Why did you swim with a horse?
Water polo team.
Oh, I actually really did swim with horses, so I don't really. I might not have been his favorite teenager if we've been dating when we were teens, because I'd have been looking at him going, "No, that's not how that's done. That's not right." I used to swim with my horses. So I'm just trying to add these little elements of light through this bit of water and also break up bits here because they would be out there. There's lots of this fabulous like blue color, but there's these wonderful bits of this light, and I don't want to lose that because the sparkling water is a lot of what attracted me to this piece. So I really enjoy it, you know, and I've just got to figure out how I'm going to paint it. And I have to tell you, oh my gosh, my stomach is in knots, John.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's where we're at. But thanks to the people, I mean, and like if it's 5 people, I'm grateful for 5 people.
Oh, I think we're gonna have more than 5 people. There's a lot of people who've been waiting for this, and I think that the new way that we're gonna drop the content is
Mm-hmm.
gonna help make it easier for people to
Oh,
digest it.
me and everybody else. And I think it's going to be easier to learn it and it will be more fluid and have more flow. So hopefully this will be kind of like a little bit of a peek into how we're going to drop it in these more bingeable segments. So you can binge out a quest, right? And so that lets me put all of the quests in the can in, you know, 1 or 2 big mega painting sessions and lets you like, you know, spend a weekend digesting it and thinking about it as you go. I'm going to continue moving this little weird zinc and yellow white. Hopefully you guys can see its effect. It's pretty subtle, you know, but sometimes you need subtle. Sometimes you're just making little subtle transitions into your world and you've got to do that. I'm going to put that out here. There's these weird little rock things and I have to decide, am I putting the rocks in? Am I keeping the water? What am I doing with any of this? Like, where am I going with it? Because in every piece, references are, they're anchors. They help us with lighting. They help us with stuff. But still, as artists, we want to do more than what the photograph can do. We want to see more than the photograph can see, or create more than the photograph can do. Like sometimes a photograph cannot simplify easily a subject because it's going to take in everything that is exposed to the lens. And photographers have to be quite talented to limit that exposure.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just one of those interesting things.
That little sparkliness is coming right along. You're just kind of like dancing right across the top there, huh?
Yeah, I've got this. If you see, it's like kind of smudgy on my brush. And honestly, what I should do is we'll come over to the palette. I should rub it out and then load it on the tip in a bead, and then it'll pop off quite nicely. Just trying to talk about little bits of light in a way that we feel that the water is, you know, what it is. And then I have to decide if I want this to be a little bit more movement-y for excitement up here, like there's a little ripple coming in, or if it's very still like what the photographer had, where there's almost no movement on this tide at all. So much pressure to make these choices.
So much.
There is, man, like straight up. There's a lot of pressure to address these choices, and sometimes even know where we're going with something is in and of its own self very challenging and can make us feel overwhelmed. Anybody anywhere, I think, can get overwhelmed in any creative project. Your life can throw you off. You have like enough stressful stuff happen in your life, which we have, um, or time or workload or health, or there's a lot of things that can throw you off your creative game. And even though creativity is normally really healing and sustaining, sometimes it can be really challenging to find your way back in. So hopefully, me being very transparent about my discomfort uh, will take the good people that are trying to follow along, and maybe give you a life raft later if you ever need it, about being creative and having to worry about that. Now I'm going to take just a smidge of my yellow ochre into my titanium white. It's still white, but it's like just like an eggshell or off white. And I'm also going to come through here and try to add some of this space into all of this up here. And at this point now, I have to do what I call comfort painting.
What does that mean?
So there's ways that I paint things in my own personal practice that I'm probably going to have to lean into on this, just to sustain myself through the creation of it.
Just mean like how you would artistically express things?
Yeah, like how I might talk about water will have to come in here. Like I will probably come through and have a lot of movement and energy up here and a lot of color swirling around expressively. I may be more expressive with the folds of the fabric and come work the face a little bit and everything. And baby seal here is going to definitely be helpful. And actually, that was the community that inspired me, besides the fact that it's the Selkies are seal people. Um,
Huh.
a lot of people in the community, when they went ahead and painted it ahead of me, um, added seals. So I was like, that's really cool. And I had thought about doing it and had been on the fence, but then, knowing that it was such a value add, I'm crossing over the space in my seal because I want these water reflections to exist fluidly behind the little seal. And I'm not going to worry about too much up front here because I got to really decide, am I going to comfort paint through there, which I probably am. Comfort painting. But sometimes you have to comfort paint. Sometimes you just have to find any way through. You just grab onto a life raft in your creative space and try not to be self-conscious. Like I feel very self-conscious. I certainly have a grip of trolls and detractors who are gleeful if I'm having a hard time.
Oh,
And they like to share that. Um, and normally that doesn't get to you, but when you're feeling fragile or I think insecure, that can suddenly be much more powerful in your space, if that makes
hmm.
sense. It goes from having zero weight to being so much harder to handle and able to really derail you. And again, hasn't happened obviously in any of our groups or bigger quests. Everyone's been amazing. and super understanding. And I am so grateful for that. Just no idea, because the quest is super important to me.
Yeah, I really enjoy the quest myself.
This is just one of those few spaces that you get this kind of art education without having to, spend a lot of money or do a lot to get it. And I think it's important to have out there. Oh, look, the water is starting to be a little bit more, and a little more
A little bit
sparkly.
more water. There.
A little bit more sparkly, a little bit more water, a little bit more everything. Put these little bits out here. Now I'm just getting into the white. And because it's like been off white, it still has that next layer. So that can add, a bit of that next bit of sparkle, right? That you can put into that. And I'm just touching and spreading that out and trying to make sure that these little pops of white, super bright water. And I'm dancing around, which is always really hard for John because,
Camera work.
camera work. Yeah, camera work is super hard. But once I get this through here, then I can, I'm not sure what I was saying right there, but I'm just trying to say it fluidly. Now, where I got it over part of the leg, which I had really tried to paint, I'm going to definitely take that back. And I'm going to come forward here just a smidge with all this, and then I'm going to start, I guess, just really trying to find my space in the water and maybe get into a bigger brush and paint a little more expressively. One thing that I can do is I know that I've got my little seal baby here, so I've got to start talking about hymns. And I think to talk about him, I'm going to pull a little of my Indian yellow out and a little bit of my super drying burnt umber, because I spent so long looking at this going, I can't do it. John's like, you can't. I'm like, I can't. It can never be done. I'm going to just make sure that where the water's at, we have that sort of sense of cute sealness.
Seal.
Yeah, we're going to block in Mr. Sealy Seal Pants. Mr. Sealy Seal Pants is very cute. Has a lot going on. If I want to gray out my burnt sienna, I'm going to come get just a smidge of my ultramarine, which does a nice job graying out the burnt sienna. Phthalo blue also does, but phthalo blue can take it green because phthalo blue is green shade, so that can always be kind of an issue. And I can always come around here and be like, this side of the head is definitely in shadow a little more. And I make sure that the bottom belly is cute. And then I can put water around him and the feet, as you might. So again, using the burnt sienna and the ultramarine, I'm mixing them together, and I'm creating a shadow space through here. This will be the darkest, coolest part of the shadow, because I'm going to say that there's a little bit that's kind of almost under her in her clothes, and so that'll be under more shadow. And I'm going to just keep trying to catch my form and catch those values and shade those out as I can. You can only do what you can do. I'm going to grab a little of my burnt umber and again a little of my ultramarine blue. And I'll come underneath here to start really, really talking about.
Really comes in nice.
I'm hoping it can. I've got a watch going over my little legs here. And one thing I can do if I'm really concerned about holding that line is I can come through with just a little bit of zinc white. Always. The nice thing about zinc being so transparent and so utterly forgiving, I'll bring some of that down the middle of the foot. Let the light catch a couple places, as it might want to. Between the legs. Back into this, where I lose all of it. So yeah, super challenging. It's a anxiety. I sometimes struggle with a little bit of anxiety, so that's always
No,
interesting.
I think everybody does a bit.
Yeah, I really I don't think anyone is immune to it by any means. You know, we have a lot to worry about in in today's age, so a lot of pressures on everybody. You can just see I'm just trying to work out his little values so that when I come and hit him for the the nice little bit of that, I'll get that into the brown. Oh, what a nice seal color. And it happens to be timber palette colored, so it blends into the background.
I guess you don't really need the reference right now because you're not painting. I don't have a reference of the
The seal.
teal.
Oh my gosh.
That's okay. We can get it in here next time.
Okay.
I'll get it in. So we're about halfway through our day today.
So what I would say is I'm really sorry for
Oh,
that.
keep automatically hitting it up there. I'm like doo doo trying to auto. I'm in auto picture in picture.
Do you
So
want to pause and I'll get you the seal? I'm just blocking him in right now. I wasn't going to paint him in detail.
yeah,
So before we paint him in
yeah,
any kind of detail, what I'll do is I'll make sure you have a little bit of him. Right now I'm just
absolutely.
trying to take this little shape and make sure that I've got some little value sets. A little bit of shaping and shading for Mr. Sealy Seal Pants. Like you do.
Like you do.
Like somebody does. Somebody needs to have a plan.
Somebody please have a plan.
So it's not me this week.
Well, that's okay.
All
I'm
right.
not
So I'm
really
going
having.
to hit this last little bit of value that I know is going to be like his little head before his little nose gets in there. So almost the seal should start to be coming up out of the water, which is sort of nice. Rinsing, 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 rinsing. All right, I'm going to get a little of my ultramarine blue and a little smidge of my phthalo green. They always work pretty lovely together. And I'm going to get just a small amount of my burnt umber over here just to gray it because it's a cold day. I'm going to start coming through here with this more rich color, and I will start to work the water around these objects. And I'm going to splash them up. See how I'm pushing the brush up? I'm going to splash them up here.
Splishy splash.
You got a splishy splash, your splishy splash. Make sure that I've got just a little bit of water that could be impacted and moving through. And again, at this point, I'm comfort painting. So it just, again, every once in a while you'll find that there's techniques or things or images or processes that you do when things are stressful. I'll see this in other artists' work. I can tell like they're stressed out because they'll go back to the same imagery again and again.
Oh yeah.
I'll be like, oh,
And I think that's common for a lot of people. You go to what you know.
you do. And I guess my point to that is it's okay.
Comfort food.
It's like, yeah, it's like a 0-calorie version of comfort food.
Whoever figured out how to chicken fry the chickens, man, that was a southern thing that was dangerous for chickens.
That was not good for the chickens,
It was
sweetheart.
not good for the chickens. That's some comfort.
Chickens are not grateful. They do not bless that person.
That was a very
The chickens don't think fondly of the first person who got your fried chicken. I bet you if you ask the chicken have strong feelings on this issue. I'm grabbing a little bit of my phthalo green and a little of my Indian yellow, and I'm mixing some of this back into it just to give it a little kind of greener, brighter,
well,
oceany value that I'm like working out.
you know what sharks say? Seals are the chicken of the sea.
Again, I think seals do not bless sharks either. I guess it's all point of view, isn't it?
It is really, I guess.
I
Is it
added a little
better?
more of my titanium white to this mixture, and I'm going to just start giving some value to the water that's coming up. It's not a bright white because I like to reserve that to show, really well lit drops. It's just enough so that we can start to feel what's happening. And also, I have to get myself out of this painting. Right? Like I can't let myself stall anymore. And that blessing really is you guys. And I know some of you are gonna be like, hey, never worry about it, it's cool. But I gotta tell you, it's really not. It would not be cool to make a tutorial and not finish it. So trying to make sure that I get this one through. So for everyone who was stalled with me, I'm also helping you guys get out of the water, so to
The
speak.
water's looking really good here. You're getting a lot of water done.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, don't have a lot of harsh feelings around it, so a
Feel
lot more
good about the
doable.
water.
Yeah. I'm going to be adding some of this white in a couple places as little highlights you can see here. And I'm just using, again, it's this number 2 Cambridge. I think, you know, you can paint a whole painting with one brush, and it doesn't even have to be like a particularly beautiful or good brush. I have to say, I see a lot of artists out there painting with like, wow, some really jacked up brushes. They're like 3 hairs and a lot of tape, but they're getting good results. So, you know, while I do encourage, I'm not good for the budget. Like I'm not your girlfriend if you're like trying to save money and not buy that coat. Because if you look good in the coat, I'm gonna tell you look good in the coat, and then I'm gonna remind you that you're a very decent person and you deserve the coat. So I'm not your budget girlfriend shopping girlfriend. I'm not good for
Yeah.
that. I'm not that lifeline.
You managed just to find that one little spot right off the camera where you're painting. I'm like, where'd she go? Where'd she
I'm sorry. I'm just
go? No, you're
trying to
good.
add a little bit of this sort of highlight through here. I like to wiggle these down and vary the space. So I come forward, I go back, and I'm just trying to hit the edge of my brush and have it be sort of light and soft so that it's not so in focus that I've really got to be real stressed about it, right? Because I'm just trying to, you know, get myself through it. And once I have that in, because I don't have the seal reference, um, I think what we ought to do, I don't know, John, what do you think about like um, me going up into the fabric?
Sure.
Okay. So what I'll do to get up into the fabric is I'm gonna put out a little bit of my Docs purple.
Okay.
And that's what I was using to like gray out my other colors, and so that's really good. I'll put out a little more of my zincs.
Now, why does Diox Purple gray it out?
They are yellow and purple are contrasting colors on the color wheel, and so you know, uh, Doxazine Purple's true contrast is actually probably somewhere in a yellow-green range, like right here.
Uh huh.
But if you look what's across from the purples on this little color wheel here, and this isn't even for that, it's for whole other camera things, but it still sort of applies true. You go
She's
across
using
from
my.
red and, you can kind of see like orange and blue and actually it should be red and green, but this is not a good color wheel. Never mind. Regardless,
It lets me see all the
it lets
colors.
him see all the colors, but these would be opposite on the color wheel. This is a video color. I'm just having, goodness gracious, I can't get ahead. Okay. Whatever.
It's live in the switcher.
I'm going to be working in some different fabric areas, see if I can get some fabric through. We're going to stop at 45 minutes. So that's a nice little work block. John's going to let me know when we get there.
Yeah, we got about 15 minutes.
All right, so let's go about 15 minutes more and put in some fabric. When we meet back, there'll be a picture in the seal.
We can, yeah, anytime we can add that seal.
Right, and there'll be this little picture of the seal, and then we can finish him in and hopefully finish the other elements of that.
Well, it's nice for you to block in some more of the fabric. We'll
Yeah.
be able to finish that up too next time.
There's just so much of everything to worry about. Yeah, I'm hoping. So I'm
I,
going to bring some of these dark shading values. I'm going to try to look and see what I'm seeing. Like, can I easily, start talking about these little ripples in the fabric and catch the highlights in the ripples and have this be believable. One thing I can do is I can always wipe a brush off on my towel and almost dust or blush out color.
oh yeah.
It's a it's another really valid way of trying to get some shading and gradation. And so you can see this is like literally a blushing. And so I'm just adding some different little values, scrubbing it out. And you can come back, and I find that the zinc is super helpful for lightening these spaces. And this sort of putty color is, I think, one of the things, it's a challenging color on like a super good day. It's a super challenging color. And then the fabric folds are themselves slightly challenging, so you just try to get your way through. You find little spots that you can handle and work in. And for this year's quest, I picked really challenging pieces.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't pick like the easiest pieces in the world, but I'm not unhappy about that. I'm kind of glad that happened, because we all need rewarding artwork. I'm picking a highlight right here, and I'm gonna pull this down. So you can see I'm looking at this area of my reference. You should be looking at this area of your reference. You may see more folds than I see. You may see less folds. It's really okay. The point is just trying to see a little bit of what's here so that you can paint what you're seeing. And hopefully each time you go to the canvas, you are capable of seeing more. I know I see a lot more than I used to, and I hopefully all the way until I exit planet Earth and go elsewhere. I hope to always see more too, except for the fact that my eyes now need glasses, so I see a little bit less in that way. I'm just taking this zinc here, and I'm just finding these little highlights. I'm just trying to start to get this shape discussed, and there's this really wonderful sort of backlit fabric that's going on that I can try to talk about a bit. And as we go forward, pull this down here. And you just constantly try to be like, oh, there's little wrinkles here. You're just looking for those little spaces that have that little stuff. So let's look at that. All right, so there's a little more shape happening there. I could microwave my coffee.
Okay, yeah. I'll take care of that.
Oh my gosh, thank you. So, as John microwaves my coffee, litmus test of where I'm at, and hopefully I totally what this experience was like for you guys. But be nice, because we're still fragile. Uh, I'm a little bit better. I'm a little bit less anxious. Honestly, the act of just painting in the water was helpful. It was calming a bit and helped me a small amount. And just shading in the seal, just getting back into the paint and being like, all right, I'm just gonna.
Everybody has to deal with this kind of thing.
I think I don't know any artists who don't. I've never met an artist who said to me, I've never had a creative something, a creative hiccup or a creative bubble or or gone through a dry period where they weren't creative, even if they were like really, really creative. And again, health crisis, those health issues, those stress issues, just having a lot of work on you, a lot of things can pull you out of your zen. They really just can.
Yeah. And that's part of it. Part of it is just getting back up there and start get back to the brush.
You got to get back to the brush. Sometimes you just got to get back to the brush. I'm going to take a little of this purple into my yellow. Boom. Here we go. Boom, boom, boom. And I'm just getting a nice little light value with my zinc. Zinc is really my friend on this particular project.
Zinc is an interesting color.
It really is. And I'm going to just softly blend here by just brushing the value of my brush is light and the pressure is light, and I'm just letting these little scrubbly little bristles do their thing. Come up here, and I'll try to pay attention to the directionality of the fabric is what I'm going to really try to work through. Now, hopefully, in the past, what's happened when I have trouble like this, is that I will really be great the next piece. So I
Mm.
think the next piece I paint after this is Pennywise in
Oh yeah.
chronological order. Like you could be visiting this video years later and not have to have been like everyone else waiting for me to recover from my stress ball. But chronologically, if you're on the it, probably I imagine that lesson's going to go real well. Just if the past is any indicator of how that works, which it often is for me. Just keep adding these values and just playing with the darks and lights, right? Enjoying this. Go back with it and try not to feel like that pressure, because we all have pressure. We all have creative pressure. We all have pressure about how things work. So, I'm going to add a little burnt umber to all this. There we go. And I know this is crazy at not being live, but what I'm hoping is that you know, we'll get ourselves kind of rebooted for the quest.
Yeah.
I'll get rebooted. Maybe you guys will get rebooted and reactivated. Hopefully, we haven't lost everybody.
No,
So, roll call. If you're still here, shout out. Be like, I'm still here.
they just said it. They're all here.
John has just total faith in you guys. You just have no idea how much faith he has in everybody in our community. Just pulling this forward and trying to find these little elements of light value. So this is a nice light value. Just fade that out. Just trying to talk about the space as it comes forward. Maybe this one comes down here a little bit. This is one I think for me is easier to do as a pencil sketch than it is as a painting just because of the ordinariness of the fabric folds.
Yeah.
Pencil sketch allows me to slow down enough to just really not get too caught in what's going on. And then a little purple, a little brown together. And then get it into this. And that gets to be like my shadow value. So I don't know. That's what I'm
The
going
shadow
through.
value.
The shadow. And honestly, like even today, like having John just even to talk to is helping.
Sometimes talking to your husband can be pleasurable.
Sometimes it can.
For those of you who've been married, you get the inside joke.
Oh my goodness, you think you're so funny.
I think that I've had a couple human experiences that other humans could relate to.
Do you think you've had some human experiences that other humans might also get?
I think there might be some gnomes out there who know what I'm talking about too.
They know. The gnomes know.
They're in the gnome.
They're in the gnome. I haven't decided. Are we going to gnome people that this dropped, or are they just going to find out?
Oh, gnomes only
Do the lives.
currently the union rules say they're only able to go out for live broadcasts.
So,
No,
all right, guys.
gnome union rules.
Hopefully you found out this is up. I'm going to definitely drop it in the BAQ. And again, I can't tell you how grateful I am for everybody that hung in through this process. Just cannot tell you how super duper grateful I actually am. And again, I'm going to almost comfort paint this fabric. No, just because like that's where I am with this piece.
Oh, I totally get it.
Sometimes you just go, okay, I'm going to just cross the finish line. I'm gonna just get through. It's been a rough competition, or it's been a rough space, and I'm gonna just get across the line. I think that's a good space to stop. And
Yeah.
then what we're gonna do is we're gonna meet back up
Yeah, we're at the 40-minute mark, so this is a good one.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop here, and then you can binge through these, or you can also stop and have a rest and go. That one would be crazy.
Mm, mm.
I mean, the hair was kind of a warning signal, but listen, every single person that came back, you are so close to my heart. I'm so grateful to everyone who hasn't given up on the quest. I want to say thank you to John.
I love you.
I love you too. I don't think I could have kept this going without him, and he's the one who got me back on the I don't want to say the saddle, but back in the easel.
Back to the easel.
Back to the easel. We're gonna keep going forward. The next time we have the seal, I'll make sure John has the seal reference,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sure that'll be in the TS page and all that. Be good to yourselves. Remember, everybody. I've never met an artist that didn't have a stall or a block or a space of life where being creative was just not easy, even though it had been easy before. So if you ever go through that, know you're not alone and that you're still totally a beautiful, big creative being. Or at least I hope so. Otherwise, I'm not.
No, you totally are.
We'll see you hopefully in a minute or soon. All right. Bye bye.
Bye, guys.